10 years ago, here at South by, a connection made was the catalyst for this organization. And so many connections since, with many of you who are sponsors and friends, have made it what it is today. I'm Jamie Kirby, one of the co-founders, and we're so excited that you're all here. We've got a great morning of programming. Our sponsors for this morning are World Business Chicago, First Women's Bank, Get Cities, Plainsight, Union Heritage, and What She Said. We're so grateful for their partnership. And I get to introduce Nicole McCarthy from World Business Chicago, who's going to be your MC this morning. Thanks you for being here.
Is this thing on? Okay. Good morning, everybody. Happy Female Founders Morning and happy International Women's Day. Like Jamie said, my name's Nicole McCarthy. I am the Director of Innovation and Venture at World Business Chicago. For those of you who might not know us, we are the City of Chicago's economic development agency, and our goal is to create equitable and inclusive economic growth for the City of Chicago, the city we all love. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Just in case that's important to you, it's important to me. I also want to welcome everyone to our female founder programming this morning. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. If you are a trans woman, this space is for you. If you are a woman of color, this space is for you. If you are a non-binary person seeking a welcoming space at South by, this space is for you. If you are queer and you're here, we love it and we love you. When we celebrate female founders and International Women's Day, we mean all women. So we all have one thing in common this morning, and that is increasing access for women in the Midwestern tech and innovation ecosystem. So that means funding women, hiring women, promoting women, and uplifting women. Am I right? Okay, so during today's programming, I invite you to introduce yourself to at least one woman and find out how you can help her grow her career or grow her business during South by Southwest. So like Jamie said, you are in for a great morning of programming. So right now, we have a panel of Chicago founders led by First Women's Bank. And then following that at 10:45, drum roll please. We will have Sophia Bush and Nia Batts on the stage discussing their journey into economic development, activism, and investing. So that'll be very exciting. Be sure, if you got a little green raffle ticket when you came in, be sure to keep that, because at the end of each panel, we'll be drawing a raffle for a Chicago Sky jersey from Chicago, because we want to support women's sports. What a thought. All right, so again, welcome to, first of all, Female Founder Programming. Welcome to Chicago Day. And please enjoy the food and drink that's been provided by our very generous sponsors. Page flip. So I'm really excited to welcome this first panel on stage, not only because they are my very, very dear friends who have flown down from Chicago to talk to you all about the peaks and valleys of growing a business as a woman founder in the Midwest. They are also part of an initiative between my organization, World Business Chicago, and Get Cities, which stands for Gender Equality in Tech. We provide travel scholarships to Chicagoland women, trans, and non-binary founders to expand their businesses to new markets. And since 2023, we've provided 29 women and non-binary founders with funding to attend 5 delegations across the US and Canada. And our next stop in the summer is London, so we're very excited. But now, allow me to introduce our first fantastic moderator. Melissa Wyden serves as the Chief Administrative Officer, General Counsel, and Director of First Women's Bank, located in Chicago. She is also an entrepreneur and executive with over 25 years of business and legal experience. She was a founder and managing partner of, this is a mouthful and forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Goldman, Ishmael, Tomaselli, Brennan, and Baum, LLP, a trial and litigation boutique law firm based in Chicago. Functioning as the CEO for 7 years, Melissa led the firm from a 6-partner startup to a top-tier, nationally recognized law firm with 25 professionals and a roster of Fortune 500 clients. Snaps for Melissa. Okay. Ms. Wyden is also involved in many civic and community activities. She is a longtime board member and former board chair of Personal PAC, a leading Illinois political action committee focused on supporting women. She is a volunteer attorney with the ACLU's Judicial Bypass Coordination Project, a trustee of the Jewish Women's Foundation, a vice chair for domestic affairs of the Jewish Federation of Chicago, and a graduate of Duke University and the University of Maryland School of Law. Oh my gosh, this resume. All right, please join me in welcoming Melissa to the stage.
Thank you. She's going to call us. Good morning. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. I am going to take 2 minutes to introduce First Women's Bank, which is one of today's sponsors, and then I'm going to welcome up our very distinguished panel. First Women's Bank is the first women-founded, women-led, majority women-owned commercial bank in the country with a strategic focus on the women's economy. We are located in Chicago. We're a national bank, but we are very connected to the Chicago business community, and thrilled to be here today with all of you Chicago or Chicago-adjacent people. First Women's Bank was founded to address one of the fundamental problems facing women-owned and women-led businesses, and that's access to capital. There is a growing gender lending gap in this country, and that is the problem that we formed to solve. And briefly, I will give you a little data. The women's economy, as many of you know in this country, is large and powerful and growing. Nearly 50% of all of the small businesses in this country are owned by women, but they are only accessing an estimated 16% of commercial loans. And when you look at the dollars lent, it's down to about 4.5%. And so there is a great opportunity here for a bank to step in, to understand the women's economy, and to help make capital more accessible to them. This is a great opportunity to address really fundamental problems of gender and racial inequality, because 50% of the women's economy in this country are businesses owned by women of color. So that is the problem that we formed to solve. We have created a platform to help consolidate support for the women's economy. And I hope you all will get to know First Women's Bank and would love for you all to bank with us. In the meantime, one of the things I get to do in this job, which I love, which is connect with so many women doing amazing things, starting businesses, founding businesses, running businesses. And today's panel has 5 of those amazing women, and I'd love to welcome them onto the stage now so that we can have a discussion about the women's economy. Excellent. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
I'd love to start by everybody introducing themselves, telling us a little bit about your business and the mission of your business. Do you want to start, Disha?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I just want to start by saying, for the Midwest House, we created a very immersive experience. So we brought the weather, right? Hi, everyone. My name is Disha Gulati. I'm the founder of Here Market. We're an online marketplace that connects consumers with chef-driven products and artisanal products nationwide. But we're a little more than a marketplace in that we provide a launch pad for emerging brands to test and learn before they actually produce the product for mass market. So that's a little bit about me.
Good morning, everyone. So great to be here with you this morning. It's a little chilly, but I'm warming up right now as I talk. I'm Naseem Abdi, pronouns she and her. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Storybolt. We use the power of documentary storytelling for culture transformation at companies and corporations. We started by going after 5 giant brands. We said if we can create value, one of them become our paying clients. And in a few months, all of them became my paying clients. So here we are with 4,000 documentaries trying to bring a culture of inclusion for corporations.
Hi, everybody. I'm Megan Roudebush. I'm the CEO and founder of Keepwith. Keepwith is actually helping to solve human isolation. We've built some technology that's helping the world network better, and we like to say that we're solving the world's relationship challenges one at a time. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elle Ramel. I'm not a founder, but I run the Chicago office for Get Cities Gender Equality and Tech as a supporter. I'm happy to bring this badass women delegation with me down to Austin. And so I've just decided I'm a fractional chief growth officer for 1, 2, 3, 4 founders. So you can talk to me about their businesses.
Our personal hype woman. My name is Corinne Vargas. I'm founder and CEO of SMARTCharts. We turn progress into pictures, storytelling patients' journeys through therapeutic rehabilitation. So you can think autism, stroke, heart attack, post-cancer. You're going through physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. We're visualizing that progress and those incremental movements to motivate patients to achieve their ultimate goals, which is participating back into the everyday world. I'm inspired by all of these women and everyone I'm meeting here. So,
Excellent. Thank you. So I want to get started with a question about challenges. You know, as a founder, everyone's smiling, because as a founder, we know life is full of challenges. The journey to launch and start your business is one with lots of roadblocks and obstacles and challenges every day. But as women founders, I think there's a unique layer, and I'm speaking from personal experience as well as from discussions I've had with many of you. There's a unique layer of additional challenges, and I would love to start a discussion about those. Maybe, Megan, do you want to start us off and tell us maybe about one of your challenges and how you dealt with it?
You bet. So, you know, it was really interesting hearing the commercial lending statistics that you offered earlier. But what I want everyone to think about is the number 1.1%. 1.1% is the current amount of venture capital going to female-founded companies. Let's think about that. If we had 1.1% of the oxygen we needed to live, 1.1% of the food that we needed to eat, that's insane. So the fact that there are 50% of companies founded by women and we're getting 1.1% of venture capital, that's not a challenge, it's disgusting. Yeah. So let's not move the needle, let's throw it out the window.
Love that.
I want to add to that, actually, by adding another layer to that, that only 0.2% of this VC funding goes to women of color. Wow. And you can get any kind of challenges while you're fundraising. I can tell you, getting vulnerable here, I have been asked 2 times for my personal background check. And I'm proud to say that we did the fundraising successfully, 3 VCs in, but it was really uncomfortable going through that.
I think access to funding for women, and we all know, is a big challenge. I think when you're actually going through the process of fundraising, it's really palpable in terms of what those benchmarks are that you have to hit. And I was a part of another panel previously this year, and they talked about the way that VCs are asking questions to women versus the way that they're asking them to men. And it tends to be more of that negative connotation, or tell me how you're going to combat XYZ versus tell me how, you know, what's going to propel you to achieve. Just that difference in language and that difference in how they're asking the questions feels very different as a founder in terms of the way that you need to answer it. And so I think we've talked about this as we've been on this trip, but as women founders, you're kind of combating that negativity or that feeling of there's something not against me right out of the gate. So it's more than just the numbers. It's kind of just how you have to approach these interactions with coming at it with confidence, but also not trying to come at it from like, oh, I'm fighting my way up the hill. It's like, no, I'm on the top of the hill and we're only going to keep going.
Yeah, I think another thing we see is that we also support emerging fund managers that are women and investors and principals at Get Cities. 90% of the global financial capital is also controlled by men. So First Women's Bank is important. Investors are important. I'm not saying that women are necessarily going to be the ones who are going to write the diligence differently, but they offer a diverse perspective. So I think the more diversity we also get in the funding cycles. I've also been very passionate at Get saying, like, let's meet corporate partners, let's talk to private equity. Like, VCs sometimes are like, the sky is blue and that's a good company. So I think it's just, you need to realize like we fight for different ways of funding because it can be really rough with 1.1% in VC.
And there's a difference between capital that you need to get something going and capital that you need in later stages.
Yeah.
So when you're distinguishing between the revenue that you're generating and these metrics that have been used for so long, you can't hit those metrics if you don't have capital to pay your people. So there's a huge opportunity here, and where it lies is in writing real-sized checks to women.
Yes.
I think another thing that I feel passionate about is I feel like women are taught to make a pitch deck, stand on a stage, and ask for $10,000 and be like really, really excited about this. And I want to like create a program where I just tell people how to write business models on a napkin and like go golfing or something, because I'm just like, for a pitch competition, like please think about the scale of the check, because it's like we are not being taught this, like a bunch of dudes are not just standing on stages with pitch competition all the time. So that's another thing is like I have been very passionate about pitch competitions are a good start, but like what are other ways we network and find investors and think about that, like going to conferences together.
Absolutely. And just to follow on to Megan, what you said, the struggle to access capital is along the spectrum. Obviously, you need the seed capital, you need Series A's, you need to grow. But then, once you're cash flow positive, you need more commercial financing to really take your business to the next level. And so, at First Women's Bank, we are addressing that slice of the problem, which is commercial financing from banks, which is still a pervasive problem. And we also know that many, many, many more businesses in their lifetimes will seek a bank loan than are ever going to be pitching for venture funding. So it's a problem from the beginning to the end that we all need to address. So I think there's consensus, access to capital, number one challenge that we're all facing.
And the biases, I would say, is the number one challenge that we are all facing, because when you have those biases right there, as Corinne said, when you enter in a defense mode, the trust is not getting built. And it's all about trust, right? They would write a check for you if they trust you as a person. And if you are in that defense mode, how can they trust you? It's already wrong setting for that.
And maybe one more thing to add, we were talking about this, we kind of changed then the narrative in our heads, right? And we don't go in a powerful position.
Yeah.
We go in with, let me tell you all the things that are not working. Let me put them on the table, and let me tell you I have a plan for this. And we were talking about this last night. That is not how men come into the meeting. They talk about the big vision, right? And we talk about how we've overcome these things and we plan to overcome all the other challenges, as opposed to look at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And it's because we've been in so many rooms where we are being asked the micro questions. Well, how do you know the market is that big? That we have changed the narratives in our head, and sometimes we literally have to remind each other that that is not how we should be showing up. So to me, it's about also staying strong to why we started the business, and sometimes we forget that because when we get into those rooms, we don't get asked the right questions.
I think too that there's a statistic out there. I feel like Megan, you might know this, but that women do more with less capital.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that exact statistic is, but it was this came to me the other day as being a woman, in my opinion, as a founder, is an asset. We're scrappy. We have the answers to all the detailed questions. We kind of are trying to see around the corners. But as we just talked about, it's objectively a liability when you think about it, because the money doesn't meet the talent in terms of those the answers that we have and kind of the businesses that we're building.
So First Women's Bank, we had to raise capital just like every other business. We ultimately raised over $36 million to capitalize the bank. Truly the hardest thing we have ever done. And I want to acknowledge my colleague, Maria Tabrizi, our Chief Operating Officer, who literally there would be no bank without her. And Maria lived through the capital raise with us. It was incredibly challenging. But one of the questions we got that I guarantee men founders of banks were not getting was, so how are you going to make money? They're the business model is the oldest business model in the world. One of them. We're a bank. We know how to make money. Okay, so you talked about bias. Have you all employed some strategies that have helped you kind of in those situations where you know you are confronting bias? What have you done? You have all achieved great success so far. How have you managed that? You know what you're dealing with, and how do you sort of turn it to your advantage?
I think what Disha was sharing is exactly one of the most powerful strategies to change the narrative, right? Where they are asking you those limiting questions because of the biases. How can you show them the bigger vision? How can you show them that you're way there? Like, I start by telling them, like, oh, when we start, we tell them, like, we have 4,000 short documentaries from 112 countries, and I still get the same questions, and I'm like, okay, we are working with Amazon, but that's not enough for us. How are we expanding this? We are thinking about going global. So putting that big picture of like how you're envisioning it as a change, and I tell them I want storyboard to become a verb, so people can storyboard to do something. That changes the approach a little bit. Not that it changes completely, obviously, but a little.
I think I'm looking for champions. The way to get bias is silence the noise, get a hot customer, get a hot champion. So we do a lot of work at Get to match innovation executives, people like one-on-one.
Yeah.
But I'm briefing them, I'm connecting them. I've had a hilarious thing where Corinne is pursuing an executive that I've met, she comes to every event with him, and I'm like, it's the same talk. She's like, I don't care, I love it. But it's important because when you can get that corporate champion or government, or it's not just VC. We work really hard to find other people where it's like they've got like 5 brands behind them. Why are you not going to invest? Like, I want that peer pressure, and then they're like, maybe I should. I want that paranoia that they're like the FOMO and scarcity. And so if we can do more of that, I know it's messed up, right? Like, you got a good business, it's great, it cuts the numbers. But I think I want that peer pressure to topple over that and be like, I'm being really stupid. I have to invest right now. So I think we at Get just try to strategize just those ways of like creating urgency.
I think the one other thing is turning the questions around. So like, we don't think the market is big enough. Well, why do you not think the market is big enough? What do you think the market is? And that makes them stop and realize what a stupid question that was, right? There's a market size slide in there. And so it honestly comes with experience. Like, at some point, you're just like, this conversation is not worth it if you're not going to trust what I'm saying. So now I have learned to like turn the questions around on them, and not in a disrespectful way, just like, what are you thinking the market is? And then that will make them realize and make them kind of listen to you because you're questioning them. So I often employ that. I turn the question back around to them.
We get noticed when we talk about the problem that we're solving. So when you tell somebody that you're solving human isolation, it kind of gets their attention. And then what we say is we have 3 very large global brands that are supporting us. So we have a very large global financial institution, we have the New York Stock Exchange, and we have Deloitte that have our backs. So I think once you start to mention those brands and you mention the problem that you're solving, that's at least gotten the attention that we've gotten.
2 things I think have helped me is stalking, just continuously following up, and being shameless about it. I've looked at some of my male not co-founders, I don't have a co-founder, but founder counterparts. And what do they do well? They stalk and they're shameless about it, right? So letting go of the emotion and being just relentless about continuously following up and getting the answers to those questions. The second piece of advice that's worked well for me is answer the question, get out. Answer the question they're asking you very simply, very succinctly, and then let the silence sit and let it be awkward. It's not on you. I think sometimes as women, I'm a speech language pathologist. We're more linguistic. We use a lot more words. Let it go. Say what you need to say, answer the question, and get out. And that is a really effective strategy. Strength and stalking, basically.
You're very good at stalking.
Hello. I've been called a very polite stalker.
Yeah.
Very important.
I call it polite pinging.
These are excellent answers. I want to move on to, we don't have that much time left, but want to move on to another topic, and that's around economic empowerment for women. That's what we are all about. I'm sure that's what so many of you care about. There is so much data around how empowering women economically leads to so many societal changes, benefits in such a wide-ranging way. I mean, we talk a lot at First Women's Bank about you give women money and change happens. Their family lives improve, their communities improve, they're able to accumulate wealth, the global GDP improves. I would be interested in your views on sort of when we focus on female entrepreneurship, what are the ripple effects of that in our communities, in our lives, and how can we sort of maximize those?
Go ahead.
I think one of the things I was shocked, I'm coming to this now, but I think I was trained and socialized as a woman when I was younger. I had immigrant parents too, so it was like save your money and budget. And then I met people now in this job, and it's like invest and grow your money. And I'm like, I've been lied to this whole time. All these dudes are not saving any money, they're just growing money. So I think one thing is like being an entrepreneur and learning about business and P&Ls and investment, it's a multiplier effect. Your business, but also just the way you view money. And I think more women just need to know, with First Women's Bank, but just like the power of investment, real estate deals, transactions, negotiation, it's so powerful. So regardless of this business or the fifth business you do, you are just a better worker and advocate for yourself and for your family and for your world. And that's something more women need to do. Like, I am now going to figure out more investing. I don't know that much, but that feels like I just peeked over something and there's like a whole other thing over here I didn't know about. So I think that's an important thing to think about as well. Just like that ability as women is even a big part of it.
And selecting investors who believe in that. And I say selecting investors because it's up to the founder to pick the right investors. And when you are having those conversations and you secure investment, it's the investors who know they're investing in the founder, the legacy that founder is leaving personally and for the company. So really having that holistic view, and as a founder, choosing the right investors.
Unless you can't choose the right investors and you just need the investment, because money's tight sometimes.
How to legally defend yourself.
Use those investors that have invested in you, both in every check that you've taken, and start using them, I think, to start making the dollars go further. Their investment, they believed in you at some point, and you can use them and start employing them. I think as founders, sometimes we think we have to do everything, but one thing I think I've learned within the last 3 to 6 months is I can rely more on even my investment network that's already put time and money into me and ask them for things. I don't have to do everything. So, yes, Anne.
So I have a different perspective. On our marketplace, we have over 200 creators, and 60% of them are women.
Woo!
So, thank you. Gender parity was important to me, but imagine these were women who were sous chefs and pastry chefs, or home hobbyists who decided to launch a retail product. So had the passion, had the talent, had the creative, but didn't necessarily have the business acumen to create these retail businesses. So kind of bringing them together on the platform and exposing them to each other has helped them multiply their own effect out there in the market. So I also truly believe we can amplify the economic impact for women if we can create not just the right access, but the right network for them. And it's amazing, a lot of them are like, hey, we used to sell at farmers market, what network do we have? But when we have these pop-ups and we bring them together, just exchanging information on ingredient sourcing, or kind of coming together for better rates on ingredients, on bottles, on lids, on whatever have you, right? Or exchanging information about investors if they're VC backed. Like that alone creates more fertile grounds for a successful business. So kind of creating, and that's what Get Cities does and First Women Bank, like opening those channels so we can share our resources.
Yeah.
I would agree. Networks, so important, not just for starting your business, for funding your business, for growing your business. It is what helped us launch, and I'm sure we all have stories about the power of networks and women coming together to support each other.
We sort of created a company about that.
Excellent. Thank you.
I want to say you can't be what you can't see, right? So telling these stories and connecting and learning from each other with authentic stories is literally something that helped me out to get where I am. And yesterday I was at a panel with Laura from Laura Bar, and I was telling her how her story in 2018 literally helped me through, obviously it takes a village, the help from City of Chicago and 1871 and all the great things that you get for building a company.
but it inspired me to continue. So networking and learning from each other and like not being alone in this journey is something that I
think another thing we dismiss is I'm really passionate about professional services, diverse vendors. You might be a small company, but even if you're choosing PR or someone to do a graphic, it's been amazing at Get Cities to have the ability. I actually don't know if I've seen a male vendor for a very long time in my life. I actually don't know if I've worked with many men. But it's like PR, catering, Kadea Water. Like you just can have all the people you are going to pay for a invoice. You just invoice all the companies you can think of that are women owned, and that's power too. And so that's another thing that can carry through is not only it's our business, but anytime you need a service, like your lawyer, like your accountant, like you get like a badass flank of women. So that's another thing to think about is like that's also economic power.
Absolutely. Okay, one final question about Chicago. Many people may not know that Chicago has the highest concentration of women founders of any city in the world. 34% of all founders in Chicago are women. So celebrating women today, is there a Chicago advantage? Are there things about our unique tech and innovation ecosystem in Chicago that have helped all of you get to where you are?
Relationships are built differently in Chicago. There's a real sense of mutual relationships and interchange of ideas and the fact that they're reciprocal. So there's a sense of how can I help you, what can I do for you? And then you have just all of the different organizations and ecosystems. So I would say there's an authenticity and Midwest realness to how relationships are built there.
I think another thing, the corporate presence in Chicago, there's no industry that's more than 9% of Chicago's industry, but it means that there's a lot, not every founder, but a lot of founders have corporate experience. It can help with networks, connections, but also just like being around a lot of different business types. So I think that's a power we've got that I think sometimes we're like a little quieter city about that.
Yeah.
See?
Sure. I want to follow on what Megan said. I'm an immigrant, and I came to the US in 2003. And I couldn't imagine anywhere else starting my business than Chicago because of those authentic connections, like Get Cities, like all these connections that we are building, that I can get introduced to the executive of a huge corporation or through 1871 competitions. I was connected to Discover Financials, like the kind of connections that I can say, like my dad didn't know how to play golf, so I was never in a golf course. And where else can I build authentic connections with people who understand my business model, who understand the value that we are creating? And that was what I got in Chicago.
Yeah, I would say Chicago, I don't know if it's happenstance, but we enjoy the power of big and small. Like, it is a great big city to launch a company. The sample size can be very big, but it is small in that I think we know all the female founders that are in Chicago, and there are all these initiatives that bring us together. I always feel very connected to the fabric of Chicago, the innovation that's going on in Chicago, and I am never hesitant to kind of raise my hand and say, I need this connection, I need this door open. And there are people like Elle and Get Cities and all these other organizations that will do it for you in a heartbeat, and I feel like I know them, right? So the city is huge and it offers all these resources, but somehow we've created a very intimate group, even though it's a big group, 34%, but it feels very intimate, feels very reachable.
And even if we want to go outside of Chicago, we help out each other.
Yeah, we all hang out here.
Right. Go back here.
Right. And being born and raised in Chicago, I've tried to expand out and keep ending and staying in Chicago. I think there is, the Midwest as Midwest House has this, kind of idealism of everybody is really nice and accessible, but it's actually true. So by making the ask and making your network bigger and making that next question, or who is this next person that I should talk to, sometimes that's that reach for that big corporation. Sometimes it's just a reach for finding a resource for that next funding source. By making the ask, it's just a really great community because everyone kind of is working together. We're not the coasts, but we do have a lot of strength and friendliness and opportunity when we look for it and we make those connections.
Actually, sorry, I was going to say one more thing. And it's very affordable.
Yes.
Unlike the coast, it's very, very affordable. So it makes for a very good combination of having access to all the resources, but also being able to live on a founder's salary.
And very inclusive.
Yeah, I would just go back to the networks point. I have found that everyone is willing to make introductions. How can I help you? Because we know when people did it for us, it helped us get to that next step. So there is a real culture of collaboration and support, not just among women, but I think in the entire Chicago community. Okay, that's it. So glad you all were here with us. Thank you all. You were amazing. I'm so excited and looking forward to following the success of all of your businesses this year, next year, and the years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm so cold.
And I have one other job today, which is to do the raffle for